We're back to the Neil Haley Show, and my guest today is Wendy Kronick, and she's the author of About This or That, A Busy Morning. Wendy, thanks for stopping by. How are you?
Oh, I'm very good. Thank you. Good to be
Uh,
here.
all right. So, it's really interesting when you talk about things. Wendy, what inspired you to create this or that, A Busy Morning, and why was interactive storytelling important to you?
Okay, that's a good question. I have been teaching parenting classes now for almost 30 years.
Mm.
So early childhood is my thing. My son will be 34 years old next week. And when I gave birth to him, I was a little concerned about my own parenting skills because when you don't know what to do, often you're going to do what you know, right? That's our programming. So I didn't particularly want to duplicate what I knew. And somebody turned me on to a particular parenting methodology based on a woman named Magda Gerber. It's called RIE, Resources for Infant Edu-Caring. So I learned different skills and I learned how not to do the behavior that was, that kind of messed me up as a kid. So once I did that, and I actually kind of became the parent I wanted to be. And when you look at your child and their infants, what most people don't realize is that most of our lives we're going to be adults with them. So what we do in this earliest part of their life is going to set the foundation of trust and respect. Everyone thinks they're respectful, right? What is respect? So what I didn't realize when I had my baby, because I had all these behaviors that I was concerned about not repeating, was how competent infants and toddlers are. Now,
Yeah.
immature, yes, right.
Right.
But they're amazing. And we often objectify them and don't take the time to look at them as whole, complete, competent, capable human beings. I mean, capable with realistic situation and age appropriate expectations, right?
Right.
So they're often overestimated when they're toddlers because we expect them to be logical when they absolutely have no ability to be logical.
Exactly.
you
And
know,
see, that's where you're a parent educator and you've been
yes.
doing this for years. It's just to know my background. I don't know if you did any background research on me. I have a master's degree in education. I'm a former teacher. I was a developmental therapist, birth to three. I was a BSc. I advocated for autistic children, and I also basically ran an after school program. So I worked with teachers before they became teachers. So I understand birth to adulthood in a lot of ways before I transitioned to as an entrepreneur and have my own agency. But the education side of things is so important, and those first 3 years are so vital, and we do not understand that if there's going to be a time you need to sacrifice for your kids, it's the first 3 years, because that is going to form them, that's going to develop them so that they have the best years. If everyone talks about, therapists go back 8, 9. No, if they have a safe birth to three and are going into a 4 year old and they're developmentally appropriate and they really understand rules and they're becoming independent semi, you're going to have a really good life. It's such an important time that we just all don't understand and don't look at those mile markers and those milestones in that age.
Absolutely. I think right now we are living in such stressful times. It's a fast food
Yeah.
society and we're always on the run and do this and do that and uh, well, this or that. My mentor would say, "Slow down," and she would tell me, Wendy, why don't you pause and skip a beat? But I was so hyper. She said, "Well, maybe skip 5 beats, maybe 7 beats." Because our children, our babies do not resonate so well with our fast, hyper
Yeah.
moods,
No
right?
doubt.
It's really, really hard. And with all good intentions, we're so busy doing, do this, do that, that we don't take the time to stop, observe, and see who this human being is,
Yeah. Who
right?
it is.
Yeah.
What
Who
what is
are you?
what who are they? What are they? And I think this is the problem, and this is where we have to go with experts like yourself to really understand this further and say, oh, I get this now more than I thought I got it. I'm understanding this, and I'm understanding the importance as being a parent, especially in those young years when
Well,
you're that, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. What I didn't realize is that from a very early age, they can be absolute active participants, not
Yes.
passive recipients. And there's a lot of things that parents would tell me, well, my child gets angry when I tell them this, that, or the other. Well, if I told you, okay, do not, whatever you, don't you touch your nose again. Don't touch it. I told you not to touch it. What are you going to do? You
Touch it
can say,
again.
exactly. But, but what if I said, oh, you want to touch your nose, but I don't want you to. You've got something on your nose. But here, would you like to touch this with this instead? It's a whole different story, right? Because one, telling them no, don't, is going to invite rebellion, and not because they're babies, but because they're human. Do you ever remember your mom, telling you, "I don't want to hear another peep out of you," and you'd go peep, right? Maybe not you personally, but we we don't like being ordered about. It's just a human condition. Now we get used to it. But how about if we're given a choice within boundaries that are set by the parents? The babies do not get to set the boundaries, and that is key, right? So the boundaries, I believe, should give them structure and safety. And as you know, I didn't realize your extensive experience in education. It is their job to push us as hard as they
Yeah.
can, right?
It
The
is
hard way.
exactly. And we miss it. We miss the point. We miss it and understand it. And this is why I see why you've written the book. Your book encourages children to make choices throughout the story. Why do you think giving children simple choices is so valuable in early childhood development?
All right. First of all, it requires that they be active participants and not passive recipients within in an age and situation appropriate manner. And I believe that the more you're able to make choices from an early age, I think the proof is in the pudding, the more likely you're going to need to be to make healthy choices when you're an adult. Because it's a mental muscle. We're used to using our brains and making the simplest of choices,
Right.
right? So I would definitely give two choices within boundaries that I set for an infant or a toddler. And yes, infants can make choices. I have seen in my experience with parenting classes in which the parents come with their babies that usually around 5 month olds are able to decide or choose a diaper or choose a toy.
Yeah.
5 months
The more we
old.
give them choices early, the more independent they're going to be. One of the biggest problems is not having your child be independent because that means that they depend on you so much, they're going to depend on you all the time.
That's a really good point. Now, it's really up to the parent because there are some parents who want their children to be dependent on them.
Right. And that's the problem. It's almost a bad tendency in so many aspects, I think.
Well, I agree with you. Sometimes I think when you have children, often you find yourself reparenting yourself through your child. But often it's a time while you reparent yourself that you can actually you'll figure out, who am I? Am I uh, living my life through my child, or do I want my child to be able to blossom with his own talents and be able to make decisions that are vital to him or her personality?
Right.
It's hard, but also to do this through kindness and also with choice making. I believe it's a good way to help a child redirect. And I want to punctuate the difference between redirection and distraction.
Mm.
I do not want to distract a child, but redirect I will do in order to help them. For example, a child will fall, maybe bump their head and they're crying, and you go, oh, look, there's a pink elephant over there. Well, I think the most comforting thing to any individual is to have our feelings acknowledged.
Right.
I want babies and toddlers in that foundational period to help them learn to gauge reality in an age appropriate way. When I'm giving choices, you bumped your head, that really hurts. I'm going to hold some ice here. Would you like to hold the ice, or would you like to hold my hand?
Yeah.
Not, oh, you're okay, you're okay. Because that is telling them not to feel what they feel, to
Mm.
hold it in and not to express themselves. So I think choices even help in this manner. Now, not only choices, it's how you apply them. Obviously, I wouldn't ask a toddler to, choose which stock I'm going to buy one day. That's not an age appropriate choice, but in an age appropriate way. And you observe them. What if they're overly tired or teething or sick or hungry and they're not able to make a choice? That's when we, the parent, come in as the uh, benevolent dictator, you know, always kind, and choose for them. This is hard for you to choose. I will make the choice for you. Right?
Wow.
It's okay to be upset. I will make the choice for you, and allow them to be upset when they're upset. Put words to it, but not too many words. My mentor would say, "You're talking too much, Wendy," because they talked about it in my philosophy. They talk about sportscasting, which
Right.
is, I personally, for me, the term sportscasting didn't resonate well because I think of a frenetic basketball game, and now slam dunk, and that's my association with sportscasting. So I like to call it a quiet narration.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Oh.
see. This is what happened. This is what you're doing. Here,
Mhm.
have a choice. Would it help to have a choice?
Yeah.
Oh, it's right. So you narrate reality, but in a quiet way and not overtalk, which is my problem.
A
Where I
play
was
by play almost, but yet not overdo it. Like
not
not
frenetic.
constant go, go, go type of thing. Oh,
Right.
you want you're going with the ball, but you're not constantly talking. So, because they're not going to be able to process all of it.
Oh, exactly. We end up taking their moments away and making it about us. Your life is experiential. They need to experience conflict. They need to experience all the gambit of our emotions in order to develop a conscience. They need to experience. I find, with all good intentions, we will force children to apologize and to say please and to say thank you. But the most vital, effective parenting is modeling. You can't pour a pitcher of conscience into a person.
Mhm.
Conscience has to be developed, doesn't it? You would probably know more about this
Yeah.
than I,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So the book
right?
uses rhyme in such a playful and engaging way.
Yeah,
How did you approach writing the rhythmic flow for young readers?
that's a good question. My sister-in-law, who's a published children's author, actually suggested that I write a book when she watched me with her grandson one day, and she saw me. He was having a bit of a problem, and I helped redirect him through choices. So I started to write a book, and it was awful, just awful. That I thought maybe if I do this in rhyme, it would be more effective. So I started to write in rhyme and had a horrible time with it because I needed a partner. So I called upon a dear friend, Susie Bouchen, who I'd known for years. We were real estate partners once. She had published a couple books. She had been in advertising, and I needed someone to bounce this off of it, the rhyme. And she also has raised two amazing children. So we got together and we started to bounce off the rhyme and to figure out how to do it. Now, I was told that books in rhyme are very, very difficult to write, and they are. But we had such a good time that it started to flow, and we found it to be so engaging for ourselves. We, in the process of writing, you end up doing silly stuff too,
Yeah.
writing stuff that would be fun for adults. And by the way, what I had in mind for this book in rhyme is that, what age would it be appropriate for? Well, okay, 0 to 2 to 3, because reading is such quality
Mhm.
time. But how about 20, 30, 40, 50 years old? Because I wanted to remind parents.
Ah, so you're hitting both. groups
I
in a
hope
way.
so.
And so
I,
that's interesting. You're doing something differently in the fact that you're trying to hit both groups in your writing
yeah,
because they need it.
exactly.
They need it as well.
Well, we all need the reminder.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things we forget, for example, to relax. I talked about how fast we move, and when it comes to narration, what Magda Gerber and what my other mentors
Hmm.
reminded me in talking to a child, to an infant toddler, we don't want to talk to them like adults. We want to talk to them respectfully, like the whole complete human beings they are.
Yeah.
But just by the fact of saying, "I see," for example, if a child runs and tries to open a locked door,
Hmm.
normal normally we'd say, "Well, we're not going outside now." But I learned to say, "Oh, I see you want to go outside. You want to open the door." Because the message is different, because that means I see you, I get you before you go to the discipline
Mm.
portion. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes we discipline too quickly instead of explain, then get
Explain.
to the to the discipline. If the discipline's needed. Sometimes it's just a redirection. We make a mistake to want to discipline because that's how we were raised. And just basically because we're raised this way, we're going to do the same thing, which might be the same mistake.
Well, like I said, when you don't know what to do, you might do what you know. What I knew would not have been okay, right?
No.
So the mere fact of saying, "I see you want, I see you're upset, I see this, I see that," it's like
Exactly.
if you were upset right now I saw you crying, I wouldn't say, "Here, let's read a book." I would say, "Yeah, you know, oh, you feel good."
And that's more of a distractive thing versus anything. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's also a discomfort thing, because rightfully we don't want to see our children suffer. We
No doubt.
don't want
No, no. So
to.
many parents struggle with busy morning routines. Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
remember morning routines with my kids. How can this book help make those everyday moments more possible, enjoyable for families? Because especially a young family mother that has to work and they're like 1 or 2 or 3 years old and you're trying to get them out the house, it becomes a lot more yelling and screaming, I'm going to be late for work versus having an enjoyable moment at that time.
Oh, good question. First of all, be kind to yourselves and be forgiving of yourselves, because so many people are guilt ridden because they're losing it in the morning, right? That is so normal and natural. But also, we want to, above all, be kind. And then sometimes we don't find that we're being kind because we're so harried. Predictability. Tell your children what to expect, but not at that moment. The worst time to tell a child or to comfort a child is when they're in the height of the emotion. The night before, here's what we're going to do. This is what we did today. Tomorrow, this is what we're going to do. And when we wake up, um, we're going to do XYZ. You're going to brush your teeth. Sometimes we don't have a lot of time, and I might rush you. I don't mean to, but we don't have a choice sometimes. You try to get up earlier to take care of it, but let's face it, that's not reality. Living in reality has all these different challenges. So you want to be predictable, and above all, you also want to know how to apologize to
Yeah.
your child. Apologies are huge in setting up your future with your child. I think the discipline should be instructive, not punitive. However, to be able to say, you know, I yelled at you earlier and I'm really sorry. And not to say, not to do a no apology, I yelled at you, but you really pissed me off. you know, I yelled at you. And even though I was annoyed, I should not have yelled because that hurt your
Mhm.
feelings.
Oh yeah.
Because what is it called? Rupture and
Exactly.
repair?
Exactly. So can you
Right.
tell me more about your background? We've already kind of discussed this. You and I can
Yeah.
have a conversation about shop all day long. I don't even need
Yeah.
questions. You know that. But
Well,
so we talked about your background in working with children and how it's influenced the message behind the book. We've kind of talked about this, but I think that's where the biggest thing that comes into this is ultimately as an early childhood parent educator, you as a parent educator, you see how important this book will be for the child to get through those mornings and to understand what a morning routine is. but also for the parent to say, okay, I can slow down. I can have peace because even if I'm 10 minutes late, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, well, you have to think about what is best for your child also, but also again be forgiving because again we are living in such a an overly stimulated world
Oh,
right
and
now.
it's gonna get worse and worse, not better. That's for sure.
Well, when I had my son 34 years ago, and I was no youngster then, I was 40. So now you know my age. Uh, it was a crazy world even then. Now it's even crazier. So first of all, predictability. You are modeling for your child. Everything you do is a model. Why do we end up so much like our own parents? It's
Right.
not what they say, it's what they do. So bear in mind it's what you do. And when you make a mistake, it's rupture and repair. Own it, but don't dwell on it. Don't become a
No.
weeping willow. Become you're an oak tree with deep roots. You have flexibility and the predictability. Know that your child will remember, even if they don't consciously remember. What you do now is going to be key in your relationship with them as adults. You are a friendly parent, but not their friend. When they're older, you'll be your friend. You'll be friends.
Mm.
But when you're raising them, you should not be their friend. You should be a friendly parent. Kind, strong. You're
Interesting.
not perfect.
I want to go to that point. You
Okay.
should be a friendly parent, not their friend till they're older. Why is
Yeah.
that? What do you see parents making that mistake?
Because they want their children's approval so much as their friend.
Because they never got approval from their parents, probably.
Right. And it should not work that way. You are the grown up. You are the one who offers stability, discipline, boundaries. Boundaries are key. And I feel the choices help you set boundaries kindly, firmly. I'll always be kind. My mentor would say, above all, be kind, uh, but with great thought. It was interesting. My Magda Gerber would say, "Be careful what you teach your child. You might interfere with his learning." So I love that because it's experiential. Understand that what you're doing, you're both experiencing
So
life
this is almost
together
like the
again.
Montessori method in certain aspects of how
It's
teaching is
certain.
in Montessori.
Oh, Marie
Because
Montessori was
because
amazing.
I wish we could have school that way, get rid of the factory system completely. With the evolution of AI, more than ever, we should.
Uh,
Because AI, what AI has done, and educators not see it yet, is that you can now individualize instruction like a one room schoolhouse. And secondly, you don't have to be in school for 8 hours a day anymore. But till they come up with a structure of how people are going to learn later on, you're never going to see that. If you're going to be anti AI in the schools, kids will think technology is a waste, then they won't find a job when they get out of school. There has to be a happy medium. But what I'm talking about in so many ways is kids need to learn on an individual level, individualized instruction more than ever. It can happen, and it's going to make them feel happy as adults and figure out what they really want to do instead of push towards things that they ultimately aren't going to enjoy.
yeah, we want them to live for their own interests and not for ours. Magda had three R's. She said reflect, respect, respond. I added one more R, relax. Take a deep breath. If you were a perfect parent, you'd be a horrible parent because your child could never live up to you. So we use our flaws as opportunities to set examples and to show them how we repair. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. So let's talk about your illustrator now. A lot of the stuff we've already
Oh,
covered. Talk about your
yeah.
illustrator. And do you have the book to show us? You have to do that.
I just happen to have it.
That's where so you can go ahead because we have covered most of the questions. Show that cover and read a couple pages. I think that would be fantastic.
Okay, that's great. This is this or that, a busy morning. Okay. And the illustrator, Emilia Manrique Medrano, is amazing. So this is good morning. It's time to start the day. You've had a good sleep, and soon we will play. Let me turn the page. Let's change the diaper that got all wet. Why don't you choose which diaper to get? The one with the ducks or the one with the bows? Which one would you like to get ready to go?
Oh my. See, that is great because you're really teaching the what I talked about, the birth to three area. Remember
Yes.
in the conversation I said birth to three, such an important if they know morning routine, if mom has to go out to work and mom's not happy about going to work, that and leaving her baby, if you guys treat this routine and understand what that morning routine is going to be like, a lot less stress. The hardest stressful times are transition periods with children. That's morning, uh, uh, afternoon, dinner time, and bedtime. The three biggest transition, or if there's a lunchtime too during the summer or different things, those are the worst transition periods with as a teacher and as a parent are those.
Well, I agree with you. And I think the biggest mistake we make is we're rushing through things. I once had somebody in my class, a celebrity, but I'm not going to mention names, but she confessed to me that she let her son watch a video before dinner. So we really want to keep them away from screens at that age. But okay, I didn't want to make her feel guilty, and I certainly understood. But she said that her son got irate when she said, I'm turning it off now." Boom. I said, "Well, how would you like it if you're on the computer?" And I go, "I'm turning it off now." Boom. You have to know ahead of time, especially with babies. This is what I'm going to do. You have 5 minutes. We're going to have your
Yeah,
bath. In 10 minutes, it's going to be bedtime. Not now. It's time for bed. Boop. They can't make
exactly.
that
No.
transition. Pause. Skip for me 5, 6 beats.
Hmm.
Wait. When you're giving them choices, which diaper do you want? You hold it up and then you be quiet. You even count to 7 seconds. It seems like an eternity for us because we're so busy
Right.
moving. Slow down. Smell well, for us, coffee. I don't want my kids smelling the coffee, but slow down. Carry time, transition time.
Totally.
That's what we forget.
Okay.
Okay.
So, what do you hope parents and children remember most after reading this or that? A busy morning together.
Well, I want them to be present. Be
Mhm.
present with your child. It's
Yes.
quality time. I mean, choices are nice. Obviously, I think are very, very important, but it's the quality time that I want them to remember to observe their child, watch their child as they're going through that book. What resonates with the baby and with the toddler and with you? What is it about it that reminds you that this is something they need?
Hmm.
Quality time, being present, having fun, and reality, helping to gauge reality and transition time. So that's just
Well,
one of many things. Yeah.
well, it's fabulous, absolutely fabulous. The story, I think it's so needed. I wish I had a book like that as a parent to go over morning routine and to really prepare that. Because if you have a child and you go through this, you're not going to have as many headaches at 10 years old. I'll tell you, because if you both learn to have a peaceful get up a little earlier than expected, expect the unexpected, and I'm sure that's in your story. Oh, it's
And,
fantastic.
and
What a
yeah.
great idea for a children's book. Where can people pick it up? Where's the best
Well,
place?
you can get it on Amazon. I think that it's in major bookstores or can be ordered at the bookstores. So, and
All
you can
right.
get it on the Rye website, and it's out there. If you key it in, it should come up.
All right. We really appreciate you coming by. Thanks again.
Well, thank you so much. It was very enjoyable. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Okay.
You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.